All right, broadcasting live on this Sunday, November 16th, 2025, from St. Michael's Parish in Maine's capital city, Augusta. Beginning with a prayer to the angel of war, St. Michael, who God tasked with taking on Satan, his brother, when he decided that Satan, needed to be or was as powerful in his pride as God. St. Michael was deployed to lead the angels in a war against Satan. And I like to begin some of my shows praying the St. Michael prayer. We Catholics, unlike Protestants, pray to angels and saints and those who have gone before. So if you're one of my evangelical followers and friends from over the years, then please practice tolerance with a little old Catholic me. Prayer to St. Michael. St. Michael the Archangel, defend us in battle. Be our protection against the wickedness and snares of the devil. May God rebuke him, we humbly pray. And do thou, O Prince of the heavenly host, by the power of God, cast into hell Satan and all the evil spirits who prowl about the world, seeking the ruin of souls. Amen. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Broadcasting from St. Michael's Parish, I'm Michael. And we just prayed to the Archangel Michael. And I'm privileged this early morning to be joined by a young man, a Christian, who takes as his North Star a familiar passage from the Old Testament, Isaiah chapter 6, verse 8, which reads, "Then I heard the voice of the Lord saying, Whom shall I send, and who will go for us? And I said, Here am I, send me." So Jed Rice, what a verse. And I got to assume that you are thinking, or at least you're making me think that you're the one who says, "Send me. Here am I, Lord, send me." So yeah, that's great. Thanks for taking time to be with me this morning.
Hey, thank you for inviting me. It's great to be invited here. I heard John was on here and he had a great time, so I knew I had to join as well.
Yeah, John Salamoni. I just met him yesterday morning, actually, on the live stream. We had a great conversation. So, and he recommended you, and I reached out to you, and in X internet time, here we are, all of a sudden, never met one another, and we're live online, meeting one another for the first time, even though we're both in Maine and apparently not far from one another, because you're running for office in Bath, Maine, District 50.
Yes. Yep, District 50.
Yeah. So congratulations for stepping into the ring. Is this going to be your first political boxing match?
It will be. Yes, this is my first time entering into the arena, as Roosevelt called it.
I love that. I love that quote. That's awesome. Yeah. So a little bit about your background. Born in Maine? You're a maniac?
Yep. So I was born in Maine. I was raised down in Bowdoin, though, actually. I grew up here, just a normal Maine family, the lower class, and then graduated high school, joined the Marine Corps, came back home when I was done, and then, I see everything going on today, and there's this quote that
There's no such thing as a lower class Mainer. Go ahead.
Right. But, you just see what's going on. And, like Pericles always said, if you don't step up and take charge, then you risk being governed by your inferiors. So, that's kind of how I look at it.
Man,
how I got here.
You're winning my heart, quoting these old ancient Greeks. I have a Bachelor of Arts degree in philosophy, so keep that up.
Oh, that's awesome.
keep that up, and I'm going to have you on a bunch of times. Ah,
I love philosophy. There's so many good things. Christianity is so needed to create a good person, but I also believe philosophy is right up there as well. Good philosophy makes a man.
yes, yes, amen and amen. Philosophy, theology, right?
Yeah.
I think it used to be thought in the West that theology, not philosophy, but theology is the queen of the sciences. Imagine that, theology.
Yep.
Boy,
I believe it.
we've fallen a long ways from that reality,
Yeah. Oh
haven't we?
yeah.
Man, oh man, you can't hardly get a Mainer to think of religion as anything more important than a superstition at this point. It's sad.
Oh.
But raised in a Christian home yourself, or
So, raised by my grandmother, and she was Christian, but as you know, in America, we have freedom of religion. So, my grandmother raised me Christian, but the next generation, my mother and them, they are not Christian.
mm-hmm,
So, it was kind of a half Christian home, really. Christian values, not necessarily Christian teachings.
mm-hmm.
But
So
so
no church attendance, or yes?
church attendance, yes. Yep. We went to the I don't know if it's a Baptist church, honestly, but we went to what I'll call a Baptist church out in Bowdoin.
Okay.
And growing up, I did the Awana program that kids do, where they go after
Yeah,
school, they get their spiffy red vests, and we get to
yeah,
learn about uh, all those good stories.
yeah.
So,
Sorry, go ahead.
so very raised Christian, raised more so American Christian. But now in my life, I'm trying to balance that out, both sides.
You kind of broke up. Repeat the tail end of that. Well, you froze up. So you froze up. You're back. Can you hear me?
I was combine more of the Christian teachings and the American side in me, because I think you really need both those sides to be a good American, really.
Mm. So you went into the Marine Corps. You mentioned how many did you do? 4 for the Corps, or what'd you do?
I did 6, reservist Marine,
Okay, so
and I did my training down there.
you, you did your training down Camp Lejeune, or we're getting a
So after high school, I went down to Paris Islands, and then I did all my training there, and then I went to um, I went to Camp Geiger, which is where, after you finish boot camp, if you are a combat troop, you go to Camp Geiger, and that's where you actually learn how to be your job. And so I did that, and then I got stationed right back here in Maine, so I came right back home afterwards.
wow. When did you get out?
A couple of years ago, 2023. 23.
Okay,
Yep.
okay. And where are you? What's your employment? Where are you working?
Currently, I'm working building resin epoxy boats. It's this place called Custom Composite. It's just,
Mhm.
living in Maine, especially in Bath, we have a lot of boat building industries. Obviously, BIW. My brother works down there, and I actually plan on going back down there. 'Cause, it's such a good job and good community, helps raise the community.
Mhm.
But yeah, I'm a boat builder, naturally as anyone else.
Mm.
Just a normal working guy, honestly.
Yeah, well, that's good. That's a good Bath, Maine trade is boat building, of course, with our largest employer in the state located there, Bath Iron Works, making
Oh yeah, city of
y-
ships.
yeah. My brother worked there his whole career. He recently pivoted to private contracting
Mhm.
as he approached his late 50s, but but he was there from the age of like 20 until he was
Oh wow.
in his 50s. He worked there the whole time. He became kind of their go-to digital genius as the whole internet and digitizing everything, going from CAD, computer aided design, to the latest whatever they're using for that. He was the guy who sort of floated on top of all that digital stuff as it arrived at the yard, and now he's working on the private contracting side and happy living in Florida.
Yeah,
And
that's great. Yeah.
yeah, he's my only brother. I don't have any sisters, and I have two sons who are Marines. One served 8 years in combat tours overseas, and the other served 4 years and got out. Both were discharged honorably, and one has created a business. The 8-year Marine has created a business that helps censored individuals and entities in the West online stay online. He helps them with their websites, with their keeping the money flowing through their donation functionality. Because of course you have PayPal, you have this platforming of Christian voices all throughout the West that spun up over the last decade or so. And so he helps over 100 now, I think, clients to stay online because they've been thrown off Facebook or X or YouTube or whatever it is. And he jumps in there behind the scenes and in front of the scenes and helps them to get their ideas before the public. So I'm really proud of him. So he was 8 years in the Marines. Proud of all three of my sons. So two of them were Marines. That's relevant to you. Wanted to share that with you. Semper Fi, my friend. What was your MOS in the Marine Corps?
0311 rifleman.
0311.
Yeah, I
That's
went
what
to
my
the.
that's what my middle son went 0311.
Yeah.
My 8-year Marine went 0352. I think he was a tank.
Yeah.
Tank guy, blow up tanks. I think that.
Yeah. I had a buddy, anti-tank. He was awesome. Loved that guy. His name's McCarthy. But my father was also a Marine. He was I can't remember the number right off the top of my head, but he was a tank. Excuse me. He's an automotive mechanic.
Yep.
And he was over in Iraq. And my uncle was also a Marine. His story's a little funnier. He thought he was joining up to be a cool information running back and forth between the lines kind of guy, but really he got stuck on mail duty in Iraq. So still Marines, but he got not quite what he wanted. And my grandfather before them was Navy. So my family has a long line as well of serving the United States.
Well, one of my proudest moments as a father involved that middle son who went 0311 for his MOS, because at the time he decided to. At the time he was recruited, I was kind of a somebody in Maine politics, and so I had become acquainted with not the Maine recruiting guy, but the Northern New England or New England recruiting guy for the Marine Corps. And so we struck up a kind of relationship, and I had him actually present at two of my son's sword ceremonies, because when they transitioned from high school, all three of my sons were given a ceremony, a sword ceremony. I presented them with swords from Lord of the Rings trilogy. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Oh, yeah.
J.R.R. Tolkien. So my oldest son got Gandalf's sword, and my middle son got Aragorn's sword, and replicas of those swords. And then my youngest son got Sting, Bilbo and Frodo's sword. And in addition, my wife presented them with a diary that she had written for them from their birth until they were 18 years old. She presented that to them. and we presented them with a Bible, and then we recruited like 8 men to speak for 3 or 4 minutes, addressing a specific virtue in 3 or 4 minutes. And so this Northern New England recruiter was invited to participate in, I think, 2 of the sword ceremonies for my sons. And so we struck up a relationship. And so he ended up being the guy who met with my son behind closed doors. I wasn't there to recruit him, and was in a position, because of his power in the Marines, to offer my son anything, anything he wanted. And so my son took 0311, which, as you know, is that's infantry, man. That's a bullet sponge. That's grunt, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's what the guys pick when they say, "Hey, I just want to get that Eagle Globe and Anchor. I just want to join." That's exactly what I did.
Right, and they're at the bottom level of the Marine Corps. They're the riflemen, the infantry, and
yeah. So. Definitely the bottom level, but what's so great about the Marine Corps is, even though they're the bottom level guys, they're seen as the top level guys. Like everyone knows who the big dogs really are.
Yeah, so he did Iraq, I think, once, and then he ended up being deployed to the Marine base in Washington, D.C. What's the name of that? So ceremonial duty, when honoring the Marines who are killed overseas and then buried at Arlington Cemetery. So I can't remember the name of the barracks, but so he was there for a year and a half. But so anyway, yeah, we share that in common, the whole Marine Corps ethos. Congratulations. Thank you for serving our country. Patriotism is so organic and real and natural, and it's sad to see such so much just ill will toward patriotism coming pretty exclusively from the left wing of culture and religion and politics, but of course the left, the so-called progressive left, having so much power now, it has a lot of influence on the way people think about their nation, their state, patriotism in general, right? We're living through such a ridiculous, insane time that I don't know. What say you to all that, this woke nonsense? Right. I don't want to spend the show on that, but go ahead.
Oh, I just completely agree. And it really does come down to mindset, like you were saying. And there's one side where there's definitely a lacking of patriotism in it. And it really does come down to ultimately how they're raised and how they're taught to look at American stories. So many people on the left, I'll say, they're taught to see our origin stories as bad, like what we did to the Native American, the Native Indians,
right.
And there's just so many different things where we can see in a modern lens how things were bad, but it doesn't change what happened, and it doesn't change who we are now. And we can look at those bad things and say, yeah, those are bad things, but we're us now, and we just need to love America. And like you said, that's turning into a one-sided thing.
Well, the issue really is we all, as human beings, have a home. You can't be a human being. Maybe you can be a robot without a home. Maybe in Ray Kurzweil's Singularity, we can maybe live as without a home. But us humans, like me and maybe you, we kind of feel like we got to have a home.
Yeah, definitely. And we feel like we have a home, and if we go somewhere else, we want to keep that home with us, and we want to make this new place home.
And that's a big part of appreciating the conflict that took place in Maine at the very beginning. The French were bringing their cultural and religious home down the St. Lawrence Seaway and establishing Quebec province before the English arrived, because the English and the French were rushing to get to Asia, because they were moving to the west in ships in the 1600s, and they came up against this barrier called the North American continent, and they weren't sure what it was. They thought maybe they'd reached Asia, which is what they were shooting for, because they wanted to get the tea and the spices and the stuff that they had been bringing to Europe around Africa, right, around the Horn, and then up into the northern European area. So they felt like they had a shorter distance if they went to the west across the Atlantic. But then they hit North America, and the French beat the English down the St. Lawrence Seaway, because, of course, the St. Lawrence Seaway took them further to the west, and they were trying to go to the west to get to Asia. And then the English settled the Atlantic seaboard from Maine to Florida, booted out the Andrew Jackson booted out the Spanish in Florida. So we ended up with the entire the English ended up with the entire coastline, and then they started moving west. They collided with the French. And anyway, the point you're making and I'm making, our home, this is our home. This is the home to Native Americans as well as English as well. Well, I mean, under the definitions of citizenship in America that exist today, anyone who takes that oath and who is sincere, this is my view about being a citizen. They want to follow our laws. They want to assimilate. They want to make this their home, which means they want to make America their home, which means they want to appreciate American traditions, customs, and history. And they're going to follow our laws, and they're not going to steal all our money, right, by coming here and living off the dole forever. Or even, I don't think they should live off the dole at all. I don't think the taxpayers have any obligation. They should be able to come here and work on day one and earn their way. That's the way
I agree.
That's the way it used to be. But the left, the progressive left, and the weak right, the weak Republicans, are allowing this immigration nonsense to continue, and we can't afford it anymore. It is ending. It's ending because we can't afford it.
Right. But we literally can't afford it, and it's certainly fracturing the nation into, you see it all over. There's different groups forming in America where there's different loyalties now, and there's different groups of people. And, growing up in Maine, obviously, Maine is still 93% white. So growing up myself, I always grew up seeing one Black person, one Mexican, one Native American. And those people were always assimilated American. So growing up, I always thought that immigration wasn't bad, because I always thought everyone assimilated, but you grow up and you realize that not everyone does that. And some people like to make their new home how their old home was. And, well, frankly, your old home isn't good. And that's why you came here. Right. And I think the layer that has worked somewhat well for the United States of America in terms of assimilation are the principles articulated in the Maine Constitution and in the United States Constitution, which provide a specific rights for the individual and create for Americans, sincere Americans, the opportunity over generations using politics to voice their priorities. And then the political layer, the legislature, the court, the executive, through debate, through conflict, political conflict between parties or between candidates, like, for example, you going up against I don't know if the guy that's in there now is who you're going to be facing as the Democrat, but you're going to go after him in a political sense, and you're going to say, this is what I think my home should prioritize, and he's going to say, well, this is what I think my home should prioritize, and then there's going to be a vote, and one of you will win and one of you will lose, and that's not the end of it. There's going to be another election in 2 years, and another one after that, and another one after that. I mean, this is our system. This is our custom. This is how we
over the last 250 years or so have.
Yep, 250 this year.
Yeah, this is how we've ordered our existence. This is how we've created our laws, and it's sad to me to see it all burning down at the moment. I noticed on your X feed that you are criticizing Trump, and my thank you for doing that, even though you're seeking the Republican nomination, because, of course, Donald Trump has gained this sort of godlike status among some Christians, especially right now, because he is giving in to he's doing the bidding of the donor class, and the donor class is more loyal to Jews than they are to America. And so it's a mess. I mean, the whole thing is a disaster at the moment, both right.
It really is.
Both right and left. And I wrote on Twitter yesterday, the day before, I said, if every single office holder from school board to senator would resign today, the country would start to improve quicker than if we try to keep these people around, the ones who are part of the system, which is now dead. That system, I like the way scholar Dr. E. Michael Jones describes it as the Third Republic, and it's dead. The Third Republic is dead. It died with Trump's. I think he marks it at around Trump's election. But anyway, the institutions of that Third Republic are not going to survive into the Fourth Republic, and I think that's the case. So I commend you. You're the right age. You're a young man. You've served your country as a patriot in the Marine Corps. I think you've got a great foundation upon which to begin your political fight, and I commend you for doing it. God bless you.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. And like you said, with the Republic right now, I did support Trump. I voted for Trump this election, obviously, but he ran on promises that just haven't happened. And like you said, Israel is so got him in his pocket right now that it's just, he can't do anything. He's paralyzed by indecision and
fear. It looks like fear. It looks like he's scared to death. That's my sense.
It really, they have something on him, and he knows that if he denounces them like he should, that they're going to go after him. Or
like a guy as powerful as him, who's been around as long as he is, and who still enjoys such favor in the polls. He doesn't have to denounce Netanyahu or Israel or whatever. I mean, he's got a smart team around him. If they they could open up political distance. They could start to, and he could fashion a response to Epstein that makes sense. I think the guy, given the fact that everybody in America now, I mean, I shouldn't say everybody, but given the fact that the whole scrolling of porn and the whole sexual thing is unhinged and just in free fall at this point, groomers in Maine are celebrated for calling themselves married and then gaining control over children through surrogacy, and we call them married, and we worship these people because they've been able to weaponize victimhood, like they're the world's most put upon victims, right? It's insane where we are with the whole sexual ethics, sexual morality, marriage, family formation, just totally in free fall in Maine and throughout the West. So why can't Trump just come out and say, yeah, I screwed up, man. Literally, I screwed up, right? I shouldn't have done those things. And I don't know. I know.
I completely agree. Bill Clinton, as infamous as he is, with the Monica Lewinsky incident, he came out and he said, hey, I did it. Yeah. I did it. So,
And I feel like maybe MAGA would take that on board, maybe, depending on how he did it. I mean, the whole thing with the underage kids, the underage girls, I don't know if he's going to survive that, frankly.
Right. And and the big problem with Trump is he ran on releasing the Epstein. That was his whole thing. We're going to release the Epstein files day one. And then he gets elected and suddenly there's no Epstein files. Well, that's a little fishy,
right.
Donald.
Right. And not just that, but it's like the beat goes on, and day after day, there's bad news from his team, right? The cover up just gets deeper and crazier and more ridiculous every single day. Now the latest pivot, we're going to investigate the Democrats. Even though the latest release, his name appears more times than practically anybody else in the release.
Right.
It's like, so everybody's going, wow, Donald.
My stepfather.
You're going to try to blame Clinton for this? Oh my goodness.
My stepfather and I, we would talk about it before Trump was even elected, and we're like, well, okay, so the Democrats aren't releasing it. That means there's Democrats on the list. Yeah. And then Trump gets elected and he doesn't release it, and now the Democrats want it. So now you're thinking, okay, there's Democrats on the list, but it's not going to hurt nearly as bad as getting Trump out. So back to just Trump losing the trust of the people with Marjorie Greene recently stepping out against Trump, and she's on the internet saying, President Trump, I forgive you. I don't want to fight with you. And he is still going after her. He's really losing the approval of, and it's his style, that style of going after people. We need the more professionalism in politics. And that's what Marjorie's doing. She's saying, President Trump, I forgive you. And he's just hammering after her.
Yeah. And then, of course, Thomas Massey, his below the belt attack on his new wife,
Yep.
Just come on. Right. And we all excuse it because, that's the Donald. That's how he does politics. He's just always on the offense.
Right.
He's always firing somebody. Right. I mean, that's just the Donald. We're just going to take it on board. But and that's, interestingly, in 2016, he turned my head because of that style that he used on Twitter at the time. He came out with that pet name insult of Jeb Bush, and I wasn't feeling all that great about the Bush clan in 2016. So there were two things that came together for me with Trump when he did that in January of 2016, January. One was the fact that I had gotten to the point where I was deeply questioning the whole Bush dynasty thing within right of center politics in the West. So I was questioning it and I wasn't trusting it. And so then this guy from a television reality show that I didn't know nothing about, I knew of him, decides he's going to move from acting and entertainment and business to being a politician. And he, unlike anybody else at the time with his kind of influence and power, his kind of standing, he used the internet for what it was good for. He understood the DNA of Twitter. Twitter was, at the time, I think it might have been 144 characters. It hadn't really expanded yet, I don't think. That was early on in Twitter. And so it had developed this ethos or this culture of the hot take, and he just mastered that.
Oh, yeah.
He mastered it, and he used it brilliantly to pursue and promote his agenda. And I said this at the beginning, remember that primary was like 16 Republicans or something. I said at the time, I said, this guy's going to win because he was showing a deep understanding of the power of the internet and the culture of the internet. And so he did. Of course, he cleaned the floor with those guys, those 16 candidates in the primary. Went on to get his first term, and then here we are, right? The rest is history. And I still want to like Trump because he's not the bad guys. He's not that other side, that progressive, liberal, hoity-toity, I'm smarter than you, and I'm progressive, and I hate God, and I love gays, and I want my grandchildren to wear dresses if they're a guy, that whole thing. It's just like, oh, God, please, give me Trump, right? Give me Trump.
Yeah, exactly. That's what this past election was. It was either that or Donald Trump. exactly. And he really did. He pioneered the outspoken politician, and that's really why he lost against Joe Biden. Joe Biden couldn't, he didn't have the report that Trump needed to throw stuff at him. Joe Biden wasn't all there. He couldn't spit back anything. So,
Yeah,
but that's Trump's
and he,
style,
right? And he didn't have the dynamics that
right?
second time that he had the first time, which of course was the insanity that was spun up by the whole COVID thing. The whole world, when that election was held in 2020, the whole world was broken. Nobody could figure out what was going on.
It was just crazy.
Yeah, and so Biden ended up benefiting from that. You'll never convince me that Trump didn't win that election. That was stolen.
I think there is enough evidence to say you just can't convince me that 60 million people who voted in the Trump-Biden election didn't vote in Kamala Trump. An election that I would argue was much larger than Biden-Trump. So you just can't convince me 60 million people didn't show up. It's just not possible.
And to me, even if they didn't monkey with the machines and all the crazy, all the stuff that's alleged, much of it can be proven with evidence. That everything was monkeyed with, the numbers, the voting. But even so, Trump needed that second term after what happened that summer. I mean, even though he was Mr. Warp Speed, and I'm not for the vaccine and all of that, the sort of the violence, the unhinged left that emerged in what we now call the summer of love. It's like, whoa, whoa. Now for political ideology, we're going to burn down all of our cities and we're not going to fund the cops. Really?
Yeah, and all our beautiful statues gone.
Oh man, that drove me nuts. I was living 8 miles away at the time in North Carolina. I was living 8 miles from Jeb Stuart's birthplace. You know who he was if you're a soldier, right?
I was just watching a documentary on the Civil War with Jeb Stuart and all those boys literally the other day. Yep.
I have walked the next to the stream with the tiny little waterfall where as a boy he would have played with sticks and played, soldier or whatever, and where he learned to ride a horse, and he became the greatest cavalry general for Robert E. Lee. And he was born 8 miles from where I was living at the time in Mount Airy, North Carolina. And the nuts in Richmond, the political left, they took down his statue, the big bronze. I think.
Yeah,
they may have melted it down at this point. There was a debate at the time about bringing it back to his home place and making it part of that little park there, that little local park that honored his memory. But they didn't do that, and they may have melted it down for the metal value. It's just like, what?
I know they melted down there's that, I don't know if you've seen it, but there's this infamous picture of when they were melting down the Robert E. Lee statue. And there's this picture of his head, his cut off head in the fire. And you can see the fire like pouring out through his eyes and mouth. It's just this infamous picture that's synonymous with that event. But they also removed, who was it? Forrest, I can't remember his last name off the top of my head, but he was he was on the Confederate side, and he started the Klan after the war.
Forrest, maybe.
Medford Forrest, yep. And they removed his statue, but thankfully they didn't burn that one down. They did return that one to where he was actually born. But it was
that was the context of that election. Americans were like me. We were incensed. We were crazy. You people on the Democrats that we've been able to debate for ever and come to a kind of settlement with respect to governing. Just to me, it just went off the deep end with that whole summer of love. So 2020 for me, for an old guy, created something that I just didn't even want to get my mind around it. it was like, this is insanity. This is nuts. What is going on with this? So I've come to the conclusion what it was the oligarchs, especially the tech-oriented oligarchs, launching World War III, battle space being the internet. And whenever you have a war, whenever you launch a war, it's no longer about politics. It's no longer about a number of individual opinions being debated and then coming to a consensus through the political process. It's not about that anymore. Politics has failed, and you're at war. When you're at war, there's a winner and a loser, right? You got two sides. Everything gets reduced to two sides, and both sides are working overtime to kill, literally kill the other side. And I think the internet became the battle space, and we're halfway to their stated objective, which is 2030, where we're going to own nothing and be happy. And the way that they're going to create that sort of consciousness is using digital technology. They're going to use the internet. They're going to use social media. They're going to use singular databases like what Palantir is tasked with spinning up. Databases that take all of our data points, combine them into one location, make them searchable by algorithm, and then that becomes the targeting mechanism for drones. They're doing this in the Middle East and Israel against the Gazans. They're deploying drones that are driven by this database, this Palantir database. And it's all so wicked and evil and inhuman and wrong and beyond belief to me. Anyway, I'm doing too much talking. What say you?
I completely agree. Like you said, when war happens, all logic is thrown out the window. And like you said, with the internet now as the intermediary battleground, we'll call it, it's the oligarchs, for example, when they tore down the statues, they'll say anything to accomplish their goals once you've entered the point of war. Once you've entered that point, both sides will say whatever they need to say to accomplish what they want. And, that's so terrible because
yeah, it is.
America is built on the idea of peaceful power transfer, and
that's right.
With the internet, and, I just saw this thing actually yesterday. The head of a Jewish World Organization said the United States needs to pass laws prohibiting anti-Semitic speech. And the guy was saying, we need to stop Americans from saying Jews own the world. So let's ban them saying Jews own the world. Wait a minute. You're telling me I can't say Jews own the world and you're banning me from saying it? Like, it's gotten to a point where, like, the oligarchs, and
it's
we
insane.
hate to say it because we support Donald Trump, but he's right there with them. He's taking their money. And when you take someone's money, you owe them a favor. And that's ultimately what it is.
And it's not working. They've already lost.
No.
They've lost.
Right. It worked back in the 70s, maybe, when oligarchs were brand new to America. But now we've, civilizations, they always go this way. And we can make them last as long as we can. But to make them last, we need to be morally sound people. And we can't let the bad people govern us. And, like you said, this is what you would say is the falling of the Third Republic, which very well could be.
Yeah. So go ahead.
I was just saying that I think really Americans, there's a huge wave right now of Gen Z, I would say, that's being led by, you hate to hear his name, but Nick Fuentes,
I love Nick. I don't agree with him about everything, but I discovered that guy, I don't know, like 6, 7, 8 years ago. And he was such an enigma.
Really?
Yeah, he was such an enigma to me because here's this young buck who is like he must be reading deep into the New York Times and the Washington Post every single day because he knew his stuff. He knew his political stuff. And he was just firing off. And that was back in the early days of live streaming as something real popular. And so he caught my attention, and and his narrative just fascinated me. As did his age. At that time, he had just crested 20, I think, in his early 20s.
Yeah, he's only like 27 right now.
Yeah, and he was hitting hard. I mean, really hard. And and he was hitting on this. He was talking about the racial issue as a white guy, as a white Catholic guy, and he defended the Catholic Church. He defended Christianity, and he also defended his skin color. And he was best friends with Ye, the world's most popular rapper, most well-known rapper, and he's best friends with Ye. And he's like got this black guy named Sneeko, and they're like an item, and they've got huge audiences. They've spun up this huge audience. So I thought, how did he do this? What happened here? And discovered that he, in his parents' basement, was gaming when he was like 13, 14, 15, 16 years old. And while he was gaming, he would live stream. And so while he's playing the game and he's live streaming, he's talking politics and he's talking religion. He's talking his own opinions when he's 15, 16, 17 years old. So his DNA is baked into live streaming and politics and religion. And now I love it since Tucker platformed him. There ain't nobody going to shut Nick up now. Nobody.
No.
He is going to be making points, and people are going to be doing the give and take with this guy. He has broken into the mainstream, and he's not going anywhere.
And it's so crazy because nobody will debate him either. And like you said, he's so smart. But I talk about him a lot to my friends. He reminds me of more of a commentator than someone who, that really sucks because I think he would be good if he actually jumped into the world of politics. But he seems more a commentator along the lines of Rush Limbaugh, because just the things he says is, he's so funny, but so inappropriate. So it's just
he's playing the game that do you know Richard Coffran here in Maine? He's a real gift to our state.
I don't.
He has a channel on X called @Unquirer @UN.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've seen that channel. Okay.
So his name's Richard Coffran. He lives just across the Kennebec River here from me, but he talks about, and he can go deep on it, the jesters something. It's from medieval Europe, and that's Nick's role. He's like the jester to the king. So who was the voice in medieval Europe who could make fun of the king? Nobody.
Right.
Nobody could. Right? It was illegal. You had to honor the king. He'd take your head off if you didn't honor him. But there was one guy who could culturally and whatever could say whatever he wanted when it came to the king, the power. So set aside the idea of the king and think in terms of in the United States of America, we don't have a king, but we do have power. We have government. We have that centralized power, which the government is going to be centralized. It has to be by definition. So what you're seeing in a guy like Nick, or here in Maine in a guy like Tim Bodnar, who goes by the True Slinger on X, True Slinger X, you see this jester's role at work. You see its effectiveness. You see its power. You see its the potential for it to bring about change, to assist change, to just like the jester would have to develop narratives that didn't get him beheaded, but at the same time, but made everybody laugh, and at the same time illustrated truths using comedy that helped the culture to continue into the future, right? So I at this point, I don't know if Nick will pivot to politics, but at this point, it seems like he's playing that kind of a role it
kind of seems like he might be, to be honest. I think he's got a great career where he is and where he's going. I think in 5-10 years, he'll have his own show, no problem. But but he just says those things. He pretended to be Dan Crenshaw and he put the coin in his eye, and he's something else. He gets me cracking. I only found out about him the past year, to be honest. And I first found him, and like I said earlier, I didn't like Trump's flamboyant style. I like the more reserved, stoic politicians. So I see this kid coming out and hollering about Jews and blacks, and I'm like, well, he's saying the right things, but boy, is he loud. So,
Yeah, well, loud and proud, that's what gets you likes and clicks, right? I mean, and
right, and it got my attention, so he proves it works.
it's kind of funny to me that that the left has spun up the internet and worked overtime to create a culture to their liking, you know, and that what's happening now is they're obviously losing control of the narrative. They're losing the plot on the internet, and the guys who have the plot on the internet and who are driving up their clicks and likes and creating audiences are the outliers. Like Tucker, he leaves the home base, right? He leaves the mothership, and he jumps onto the internet exclusively, and now he sort of runs the internet. You know, everybody has to watch Tucker now. Everybody has to respond to Tucker. Like on the entire planet, you better take Tucker seriously. And
Right.
what's his foundation? Well, he's a podcaster. That's all he is.
Right.
He's just a
just like Rush
podcaster.
Limbaugh. Yep.
Yeah. And then you got Candace, right? Booted out by Shapiro, and who fancies himself as the guy who has spun up this internet culture and who controls the narrative. And now he's committing suicide. Everybody's saying it.
Yeah. And Ben is such a good starter point conservative. When I was a kid in high school still, Ben was the first one I followed. He definitely starts it, but then, like you said, Tucker walks away. It's because he realizes that, hey, I can't tell the truth here. And I think Matt Walsh, I think he's going to be the next one off Shapiro's show. He's been starting to go out against Israel, and Ben won't debate Nick because he knows that Nick is right and he can't debate him. There's no possible way he can do that without saying Israel is doing bad things.
Right.
And like you said, everyone's starting to see that. And the left is losing that online war. And when a bad person in a country wants to control the story, they take control of the means of telling the story, the internet, the newspaper. So, and we're reclaiming that now. So, which is a good thing.
Yeah, definitely. There's no doubt about it that it's the shift includes the media in a big way, and that the power that is forcing the shift, wresting control from the legacy media, is the internet. It's this kind of thing right here, having real conversations in real time, on current issues, and where it's sort of obviously not a robot, it's not AI, it's a couple of guys in Maine. I think that we're really going to start to see in the coming years, couple years, a pivot to a lot more local, local awareness on the part of people who use the internet. They're going to become more and more oriented toward their neighborhoods and toward their towns, cities, and states, and less oriented, less controlled, less influenced by the national and global narrative. You can see it everywhere. I see it everywhere. People are wanting.
I really hope that's right, because there was definitely a shift. I don't know what point in America, but there was definitely a shift where we stopped looking at our direct government and our direct leaders, and we shifted to global leaders, and we shifted to just the top government. And you're right, it starts directly at the bottom, our problems. And, like your show like this, and there's the Muddy Waters podcast, and the Main Wire. Those are all like small stations that actually tell the news and tell the truth. So it's definitely bringing more people to the smaller government issues.
Yeah. And the more the economy tanks, the more the dollar loses value, the more people realize that we're not dealing with inflation, we're dealing with debasement. We're dealing with a strategic economic problem that is systemic, and it's related to banking, and it's related to central banking, and it's related to Keynesian ideas regarding inflation that actually bring about the debasement of the currency, right? Because it's a well-known fact now that if you valued the dollar against gold in 1913, it was worth $1. And now the dollar valued in gold is worth about less than a penny or something. I mean, it's crazy the amount of the amount of value that the dollar bill has lost since the Federal Reserve was created is beyond belief. The only reason people don't think about it is because the legacy media and the government and the banks, and the Jews, they all keep us from thinking about it, keep us from knowing that what we're dealing with is debasement. So we work our whole life, right? We save and we create retirement accounts. We save in dollar bills, dollar denominated bank accounts and assets. And then we get to the end of our life and we see that if you're not a millionaire, when I was young, a millionaire was out there somewhere, we didn't have billionaires. Millionaire was something really special. But now if you're not a millionaire when you're my age, I mean, I was listening to a podcast this week that says if you're not a millionaire when you're 64, like I am, then you're not just poor. You're like not going to be able to survive to a natural death. If you're not a millionaire, that's debasement.
And switching how we value our money was one of the biggest blunders of our country, easily. And I never understood it. You see, and there's everyone on you hate to bring it up, but everyone on the left, they talk about inflation. We need to raise we need to raise minimum wage and do things like that. And it's like, well, you raise minimum wage, but then the problem just rises with it too. It's a never ending vicious cycle, and eventually we're going to get to the point where Germany was, you have a whole wheelbarrow just for a loaf of bread, it's
right. Yeah, hopefully we never. I don't know my sense is they're obviously looking to pivot the dollar away from being cash to being something digital. And being controlled by some centralizing force like a central bank or the Bank of International Settlements or whatever. They're looking to. That's what they're looking for, and they're looking to combine that with surveillance and tracking so that they can.
Right. Our dollars, it's just a piece of paper now, but 20 years from now, you're not even going to get the piece of paper.
You'll just right. But there's an immense force gathering in the world to resist this, and I'm glad because really switching something like currency to something digital, like Bitcoin, just for example, that is one of the most foolhardy things you could do ever, honestly. Yeah, we'll have to talk. I'll have to talk to you off air about Bitcoin, give you my own opinion, which differs from that. But it's an opinion that I've started to form since reading a book by a Army Apache helicopter squadron leader who retired, and he's a young man. He's in his mid to late 30s, I would guess, and lives in Texas. And his name, what's his name? Anyway, Neil Flesher, and he just published his book called Modern Chains, and he acquired a degree in philosophy from Aquinas College or something before he wrote his book, and so he makes an argument for Bitcoin from philosophy and ethics, and doesn't really get into theology. It's really an argument from philosophy. I'll try. I've got your DM, so I'll shoot you the link. And he's done some podcasting. I've interviewed him twice, so you can.
Oh, nice.
You can go see those discussions at michaelheath.tv if you're interested. But anyway, cryptocurrency in general is something to be really, really cautious about. And I'm not here saying that you should all go out and buy Bitcoin today because you're going to get rich tomorrow. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I am saying is when you get time, do a deep dive. Do a deep dive on it from an ethical and moral and philosophical perspective, and on what on the idea really of Bitcoin as compared to central bank digital currencies and crypto coins, cryptocurrencies, and tokens, and all these other forms of digital cash or transactions, or whatever. So it's worth the time, and because
Absolutely.
this current system with the dollar bill with cash is in trouble, and not for a lot of reasons. And one of
I'm
the
not
reasons.
whole.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I'm not wholly against Bitcoin. I would say it's just the amount of uncertainty and something
Yep.
not tangible at all. You can't hold it in your hands. It's
Yep.
the uncertainty is what startles me. But it's
And
I have
that's
some family.
right, and that comes from the fact that it's still in its. It hasn't settled. It hasn't stabilized. It's very
Yeah,
volatile because
very
it's.
infancy stage still.
Yeah, it's acting like it's serving at the moment in the global economy like an asset, like land or a house
Yeah.
or something like that. But it wasn't designed to be that. Its value proposition is actually its function in reality as currency, as a way to transact value instantly, globally, and with no middleman, no intermediary, and using a decentralized network uh, that resists centralization, but it can fall to centralization. Right now, its weakest layer is the mining layer, because the mining layer is centralizing. The node layer is not centralizing and still remain. For example, I run a node. I don't own very much Bitcoin. I didn't get into it at the beginning. The people who did get into it and who held on to it became super rich. They
Oh
became
yeah.
super rich in the last couple, 3 years, 4 years. They became very, very wealthy. I wasn't one of those people, because I read the white paper. I read Nakamoto's white paper back 15, 16 years ago, and I liked what I read. But like you, I was skeptical, and then I just didn't. I didn't. Pay, I didn't pay attention. I could have been.
My
I could have had that $1 million, Jed, if I
you
if I.
you could have been podcasting out of a bigger garage right now.
That's right. That's right.
My uncle, not through blood, through marriage, he owns a couple Bitcoins. He super smart tech guy, like he got them, and stupid me 15 years ago, I was too busy playing on the schoolyard or something. I should have been
Well,
getting Bitcoin.
how would you feel if you were Alex Jones? I mean, I think it was Max Kaiser sent him, I don't know, like 100 or some high number of Bitcoins back when they were worth like a buck or 10 cents.
Back when they were worth a buck. I remember this story of this man paying for a pizza with 1,000 Bitcoin. Imagine being that guy.
Yeah. Well, Alex received the Bitcoins from Max, and then lost them. You can't find them.
Oh my gosh. I'd still be searching. There
Wow. Yikes.
I think there's still a guy searching today in some dumpster pile in America looking for a SSD drive of Bitcoin he lost.
Yeah.
They're worth it.
Yeah, really. It's at 90. We've gone our hour. I'll let you go here. It's at 95,579. It's high. It reached its high fairly recently of 127,000 per Bitcoin.
I thought it was up to that. Yeah.
Yeah. But one fun way, if you want to just play around with the whole idea of Bitcoin for free, is go to primal.net on your computer, primal.net, and spin up a free account at Primal, and within like 5 minutes, what they bake into Primal, which is a social network like X or Facebook, is something called zapping, and you end up with a wallet, and you're able to, instead of liking a post like we do on Facebook and X, or reposting or quoting or whatever, they add functionality so that you can zap the post, zap the account that created the post. And what a zap is it's Satoshis, it's sats, which is the smallest increment of Bitcoin. So a Bitcoin is worth 100,000
Oh,
or
I see.
so right now, but every Bitcoin is made up of 100 million sats, 100 million Satoshis. So a dollar,
Gotcha.
an American dollar right now is worth about 1,000 Satoshis, 1,000 sats. So what Bitcoin is doing is something that I imagined the internet would create back when PayPal was spun up by Thiel and Musk. And that is open up the opportunity for elegant and simple micropayments between, because back then I didn't want to pay for a New York Times subscription or one of these expensive, and I was working for the Christian Civic League, one of these expensive news sources to get news. And I thought, well, why can't, now that we got the internet, why can't we do micropayments so that if I need that article, I can pay 5 cents or 10 cents or $1 or whatever, something that, that would represent a fair market value for an individual article or a video or whatever it is. And it never happened under the fiat system. It never happened. I don't know why, but if you go to Primal and start zapping, then you can feel, you can feel and sense this micropayment economy. Because I zap people now, I zap 9 sats if I want to like somebody, and that's like a micro penny. But so you might think, oh well, who cares about a micro penny? Well, go ahead and receive a micro penny instead of a like on a social
Right.
network, and you'll see what I mean. You're getting value. Someone took time to give you value, whereas a like or a click, that only gives value to Facebook or Musk or these centralizing forces, so they can do a better job of filling your feed full of advertisements. And everybody knows that now. They don't want to give those data points to these
No.
centralizing
Yeah.
forces.
That's
That's the other
interesting
thing
though.
about the Zap.
Primal.net.
It's value to value. You're giving value to that other account directly, and it's not part of this manipulating ecosystem that we're currently used to with social media. So anyway, that's long.
That's
But
super interesting.
primal.net.
I
Huh?
wonder why it's not a bigger thing, honestly. That's like
Well,
it sounds like it should be a huge thing.
well, yeah, it's pretty new. Like I say, it's
Yeah.
free, and it's still a little bit clunky, but
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I'll
But
definitely have to check it out.
yeah, primal.net. Give it a try and let me know what you think. I'm trying to get some people to work with because I'm like the only guy I know in Maine that even that's ever heard of primal.net, and so I'd love to spin up some more people and start sharing ideas and working together to learn about the decentralized web, which is what it's part of. This push against the centralizing of everything electronic. So you've been really generous on this early Sunday morning with your time, and I have so enjoyed it that I went and missed Mass, which started at
Oh.
7 o'clock. So, but I can go later because Catholics do church a lot. They do it every day, and then on Sunday they do it here in St. Michael's Parish. We do it like 6 or 7 times today. So
Oh wow.
I can go later, and but this has been a delight for me to.
Yeah, it's
I'm
been
just,
great to be on and talk to you about everything.
I'm just so encouraged by the young men like you who are local, who are here in Maine, who are stepping into the political ring and thinking good thoughts and not having. They still don't have this instinct of hatred toward all things religious or Christian, which seems it's like an epidemic in Maine. It's really strange. I mean, if you're going to be religious in Maine, right, you got to be pro-gay, and if you're not pro-gay, then you're not religious, and I hate your guts, and
Yeah.
I want you
It
dead.
sucks being part of New England because we represent some of the smartest people in the world with, Yale and Harvard, but we also represent the most liberal people in the world.
Yeah.
And, like you said, you can't believe in God in Maine unless you also believe in gay marriage and transitioning and all that.
Yeah, it's like religion's been hijacked. Jesus has been hijacked. He's been made into this thing that it can only be nice and can only
Right. Yeah.
can only.
And that was a big, yeah. And that's what a huge misconception that all atheists believe is that Jesus only talked about loving everyone and being nice and being vaguely nice to everyone. But in reality, he really wasn't. And there was a couple times in the Bible where Jesus lost his mind and he took out his whip and started whipping that Jew boy at the church. It's not the church, but it was the temple. But you know what I mean? Like,
Well, I don't think the Romans and the Jews killed him for being nice. I think they killed him
no,
because he said and did a bunch of stuff that really ticked him off.
yeah,
Really, really made him angry, and so they tortured him, crucified
yeah,
him, and got rid of him. But then God, of course, had other plans, and here we are today, 2,000 years later, still talking about him, still fighting over the gospel, over him, and
yeah.
with Christianity being the dominant religion of the West today, 2,000
And
years later,
rising,
and
and
rising.
rising.
I think it
Yep.
is. I think it is.
Gen Z. I saw a study done that they, on average, by a monthly basis, go to church 2 times more than boomers
Yeah.
relatively do. So on average, Gen Z, I go to church every Sunday, but
Yeah.
on average, Gen Z goes twice a month. So
Yeah.
there's definitely, when you're raised in a country where morals are low, the younger people look for something. They look for something to say, how do I strengthen my morals and how do I become a better person? And frankly, that's Jesus. So
Yeah. And that's Nick's. That's sort of the heart of Nick's message. It's like, don't go to church. Be a Christian. Seek to be a good man and a good woman. So, and it's becoming very popular. And I see that narrative in Candace, right? Candace Owens is podcasting, and in she was like the most watched podcaster on earth like a week ago. But I guess they keep track of something, but she won some kind of great big huge award for. I mean, people are
oh,
paying
nice.
attention to that. People are paying attention to her, and to Tucker, of course. And the war has been launched, by the
Yeah.
Jews.
The,
The Jews, basically, it's all being stripped down to the Jews being the ones who want to hate on Tucker and Candace and Nick. And of course, they're trying to say, no, it's not that. But then, of course, it is that, because all you do is push them a little bit, and they say they're anti-Semites.
yeah.
What's that?
And it wasn't them that launched the war. It was really Tucker and them because, the Jews, they were in power for a long time. They didn't have to start a war. They won already, but now, like you said, we have the America First crowd. And, it sucks to say, but really since Charlie's assassination, Charlie Kirk was when America First really started saying, what the hell's going on here? Because
Right.
I don't know how well you know of it, but towards the end of his life, he was seriously doubting Israel
Oh, yeah.
and their
Yeah,
role.
I saw
Yeah.
all of that. Yeah, the circumstantial evidence definitely, even today, points toward the Jews killing him.
Yeah, and it's one of those things I don't think we'll ever get an answer. Same with Epstein, same with JFK. It's one of those things where we're just not going to be able to know, and the government's going to say, shut up and be happy about it.
Right. They're going to try to do that. But
Right.
what I'm seeing is the podcaster community has just gone. It's so powerful now. It's just ripping and tearing at every little detail of the Charlie Kirk thing.
And like you said earlier,
Yeah.
Trump started the internet wave, but now podcast that opened the door for podcasts. And I think Trump, it was ultimately his own hubris because he
Right.
showed the way for these new people to knock him down.
He lost the plot. He had the plot.
He really
at the
did.
beginning.
Yep.
He had the plot
did.
at the beginning with respect to the power of the internet and the reality of the internet and what it is, but he's lost the plot now. But it's interesting to look at the fact that he's kind of trying to stay with the plot of the internet, which is why all the people he appointed, they're all podcasters, right? The head of the FBI is Kash Patel and Dan Bongino. I mean, who are these people? they're podcasters. This
Right.
this guy who's heading up the Secretary of War, Hegseth, what's he? He's a Fox News commentator.
Yeah.
Who leans into the internet narrative more than he does into the Fox News narrative. And so there's a sense in which there's evidence to suggest that Trump is still trying to own, or at least be relevant on the internet. But I don't know. He's in a bad place at the moment with respect to MAGA.
He's definitely doing that still with he needs the internet to win that battle against Marjorie Greene and Thomas Massey. And, you see that still. He's trying to be 2016 Trump again, where he's calling the shots, calling out the dude's wife, calling out Marjorie Greene. But America knows Trump now. We know what he does. And like you said, it's just the podcasters. It really is. They said enough words to where the American people finally realized that maybe Trump doesn't have their best interest at heart.
Right. Maybe he doesn't have the whole plot, the entire plot. And
right. Yeah.
And it's early in his presidency. He's got more than 3 years to go in power. He's got to know, his team knows, they know they're losing right now. They are burning down the midterm.
Oh, period. Yeah. With Mamdani taking New York, that was a huge indicator of how the midterms are going to go.
Yeah.
With, Trump. And like you said, we have to remember the government's been shut down for 30 plus days. We have to kind of factor that in as well. But, he's losing so many votes because of him not doing enough. People have been begging him to use the Insurrection Act in Chicago, and he's just not doing it. He's saying, I don't think we need to yet, but it's really losing him votes. And if he used the act, it would gain him more votes than he would lose. He's not going to gain any Democrat votes anyways. But
no,
if
not
he
ever.
used the act, exactly, never. But if he used the act, he would gain America First voters. And I think that would really help him.
Yeah, he needs to pivot away. He needs to obviously put a lot more effort into domestic issues like the economy and like you're saying, making the cities safe again.
And he just, sorry to cut you off, but he was just another huge thing. He was just announced he was going to bring 600,000 Chinese immigrants to America to go to our colleges, stating that our colleges wouldn't have enough people to stay open if he didn't. Why are we keeping colleges that don't have enough money open? And why are we tutoring people who openly don't like us?
That kind of stuff's going to destroy him if he keeps that up.
Yeah, it is.
Well, listen, Jed, you have been great. The conversation has been so good that I didn't get to show your X feed and stuff, but I'll make sure it's in the show links at michaelheath.tv. And I would love to get you back on as things proceed here. And if you know anybody else that I should be talking to, especially young men that you're connecting with on X or someplace else, please send them my way. I would love to talk with them on a live stream, and just like we have done this morning. So I do it every morning at 6 a.m., 7 days a week, and it gets archived at michaelheath.tv. I don't waste time on YouTube or X because of the censorship. At michaelheath.tv, I can't be censored, and I know that you'll be able to see the archive, and it live streams there as well. So if I decide to give a little more time to marketing what I'm doing, I may spend a little more time on YouTube and X with regard to the video stuff. But
I think X is.
Go ahead.
I think X is pretty lenient with its policies. If you were unsure about that,
yeah.
I know Muddy Waters does his there. He uploads there.
But, yeah.
So like you said, YouTube is so YouTube.
Right. My experience with X is that they're really, really bad on freedom of reach. They'll let you say most anything. Sometimes they'll ding you. but nobody sees what you post there because the algorithm is programmed to make sure nobody sees it. And then on YouTube, I haven't gone deep enough into YouTube to be able to make come to any kind of a judgment on it. But on X, I've been posting a lot for a year, and I was growing. My account was growing slowly up to 1,000. It hit 1,000, and then it started, and then I could tell they turned something on, and now it won't. It's not allowed to go over 1,050. It hits 1,050, and then it, like right now, I think it's at 1,048 or something.
I saw you were the next coming to Nick Fuentes. They had to stop your account from growing.
Yeah, it's, and then of course before that I'd been visited by the FBI because of my blog, and I still deal with those kind of. I really don't want my wife to have to deal with.
Right. Nobody.
The FBI showing up at my house again.
Yeah.
And that wasn't because of social. That was just because of my blog. Which I didn't think many people were reading, but apparently the FBI was reading it.
Yeah, Big Brother's always watching, I guess.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Thank you for inviting me on today. I had a great time talking with you. I wanted to make sure I said that. I'm definitely gonna.
Do you have a website?
I don't have a website. I only use Twitter/X.
Okay.
My account. I've just really started posting this year on my account, and really decided this year that I was going to actually take a run for government. But so I only have my page, but I'm
good. So I'll post the profile link in the show notes and encourage people to check you out. So thank you for being on, and let's close in my customary way with a prayer. The Our Father, in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver